Thank you for joining our 3 easy steps to customer data integration webinar today. Going over a couple of brief housekeeping items before we get really started. Voice over IP is enabled. However, if you cannot hear us, please use the web dial-in details over the telephone line. The phone lines are muted in order to get a good recording out of this and to make sure that we can have everyone hear the presentation well. That being said, feel free to use the questions feature to submit questions throughout. We will hold the end and answer all questions there. Presentation should run about 50 minutes throughout with some time at the end for Q&A.
Great, thank you, Brendan. My name is Peter Chase. I'm here joined by Brendan Peterson. And welcome to our webinar on how to deliver better integration of customer data. The session today is targeted towards independent software vendors, or as we are affectionately referred to, ISVs. And it's really about those ISVs that are delivering customer-facing solutions. So again, my name's Peter Chase, and Brendan's here with me. And both of us work very closely with a lot of ISVs today, and we help them implement their data integration strategies. And we certainly look forward today to sharing with you a bit more about how we're able to do that and how our ISVs are successful with that. First, before we get started, a little bit on Scribe. If you haven't heard of us, we are a data integration company, a global company that has over 10,000, 12,000 customers, over 1,000 partners across the world. We cover pretty much every geographic region out there, and really focused on how companies can leverage customer data within their business across business applications to increase revenue, provide superior service to their customers, and create business value for ISVs, for example. How can they create business value with their applications faster and more long-lasting? We have solutions that are both, we have a Scribe Online product as well as Scribe Insight. We're going to focus today on our Scribe Online platform, which is the platform really designed and targeted for companies, customers and ISVs that are looking to deploy integration solutions globally across that platform. This is a representative sample of many of our customers. We have customers that range from very small companies all the way to the largest organizations in the world. Pretty much every company that in the world that needs to have better integration of their customer data in order to interact and interface with their customers in a more efficient and effective way are either current or potential Scribe customers. So it's a pretty broad universe of companies that we work with. And this will also be evidenced as important later. One of the other things that we are focused on as a company is we're very partner-driven and partner-oriented. The first 3 columns represent a select group, or at least a representative group, of the systems integration partners and implementation partners that we go to market with, and they vary in all different sizes. We are very programmatic in the way we work with our partners, and we have a very high attachment and success rate with our implementation partners. They're both systems integrators and VARs. We also, as you can see on the right-hand column, are working with a growing list of ISVs. This is another representative list across a number of different areas, and that list continues to grow, and we certainly look forward to talking to you today about joining that roster of ISVs. So today's presentation, the agenda for that is we want to, the theme today is easy. Scribe is all about making it a lot easier for you to deliver integration solutions to your customers. I'm going to start, before we get into the easy part of the presentation, I'm going to start with some why integration is becoming increasingly important and an important issue for your customers. I'll also cover a little bit the high lob on why partnering with Scribe can deliver key benefits for you as an ISV, as you'll see in the data, are increasingly challenged with helping your customers integrate their customer data. Brendan's then going to take over, and he's going to cover the next 2 areas. He's going to provide a demonstration of Scribe Online. Scribe Online is something I think you have to see to sort of get a full appreciation of. So we're going to show you Scribe Online in action. And he's going to use one of our ISV partners to demonstrate how easy it is for you and to deliver on your customers' data integration needs. Then he's going to continue on by showing you, well, how do you get started? How do you enable your application to work with Scribe Online, and how do you get all of those pieces put together so you can deliver those types of solutions to your customers? And then I'm going to finish with a little bit around our go-to-market and how we make it easy for you as an ISV to go to market with us as partners. And then we'll take questions at the end as we wrap up. Earlier this year, Scribe commissioned a study on the state of customer data integration. And this was the second year we did the study. In 2012, we had about 300 respondents. This year, we actually increased that by over threefold in just 1 year to over 900 respondents. Clearly evidence that this is an important topic. And just as a side note, as far as we've been able to see and tell, this is one of the most comprehensive studies on this particular topic of integrating customer data that there is out there. One of the key findings that came out loud and clear, probably the most interesting or most, in some ways, sobering findings that came out loud and clear, was first of all that customers see integrating data across their customer-facing systems as very critical to their business. So somewhere between 69 and 74% said it was a very high importance to them to be able to integrate their broader CRM assets to the different applications they use to connect and communicate with customers or analyze customer behavior. The other interesting point that we'll sort of illustrate a little bit when we talk about our sort of go-to-market approach is the role that systems integrators and value-added resellers and other types of value-added partners that help customers implement their solutions, how their role is so important. In fact, it's not on this chart here, but we saw actually better integration levels of about 50% better when systems integrators were involved versus self-implementers. So there's a great ecosystem of specialists and folks that really know how to not only implement applications but get them connected into the enterprise, and that's an asset that we see a lot of ISVs not take advantage of enough, and we'll sort of illustrate that today in our presentation. So, as I mentioned, I used the word sobering on the previous chart. This is the sobering part of the presentation, and while we see about around 70% desire, if you will, to integrate customer data and how important it is, the percentage of those actually achieving those results is abysmally low, in the 20s, and we see this as a huge opportunity for all of us, for Scribe. This is the business we're in, but also ISVs, to help customers achieve better results. And so this is our challenge today, and we certainly look forward to tackling that with you at some point here. You have joined the webinar today because you're probably hearing data integration as an issue with your customers, and so the question is, the next question obviously is, if you agree that integration is important and that you should help your customers deliver better integrated solutions, why is Scribe Online the right platform and the right approach to deliver those capabilities to your customers? I think first we take the mystery out of integration for your customers and sellers, and as you'll see, by creating what we call a connector for your application, you can deliver integration solutions in a really easy to use, straightforward configuration environment to any other application that Scribe has a connector for. And our mantra is build once and integrate often. And what that enables you to do, and with this approach, first and foremost, your sellers, your salespeople can say yes more. We run into a lot of ISVs that say, well, we had to walk away from deals with this particular CRM system or ERP system, whatever, because we could not say yes to that. So enabling your sellers to say yes to more customers is always a good thing. And probably the other thing that's related to revenue that's really important is, and there's more data on this topic we don't have in the presentation today, but it's sort of intuitive, that when you integrate your application into the other systems in the enterprise, particularly those that are seen as perhaps customer masters or systems of record of different data, your application becomes a lot more sticky. It becomes a lot more mission critical to the business, and that drives revenue. A lot of us are, as our business moves towards a cloud subscription-based model, usage and value all along the way is becoming increasingly important. Also, as we pointed out earlier, your ecosystem can really play a big role in customer success. Instead of, I think a lot of ISVs sometimes look at integration as an application problem, like how do I solve this as an integration application? And what we find is that customers' situations and integration needs are so unique that to try to package up an integration and put it out to integration application between multiple applications and putting it out there does not work very well, that it might satisfy a small percentage of the need, but you quickly get overwhelmed with needs to change it and expand it, and it's really hard to keep up with. Instead, we think about solving the integration scenario a little bit differently, better too, but how can you empower your ecosystem with a great platform of tools to be and what we call solution templates to be able to go out there and implement and give the customers exactly what they want without overburdening your development shop to have to continue to build more and more point-to-point type integration features and capabilities. And I guess the final point, and this is all related, is by building one connector and integrating often and in empowering your ecosystem, you take a lot of drain off of your development investments and resources, allowing you to focus on your applications and making them better, and really lowering both the initial and ongoing cost of development and ownership. So with that, we're gonna flip now over to Brendan. He's going to provide a demonstration of Scribe Online in action with one of our ISV partners, ExactTarget. So Brendan, take it away.
All right, thanks, Peter. So like Peter said, we're going to do a bit of product demonstration, and we're going to have 3 scenarios we're going to cover for this. So the first one I want to talk about is synchronizing lists of contacts or leads with your Salesforce.com system and ExactTarget. So why this is important to you, you have 2 systems, best of breed. You want to be able to integrate them more fully than they may come out of the box. This is a pretty popular area for us, and for personally, as a kind of consultant, hands-on, I've seen a lot of people need this extra level of integration. So what I'm going to do is take you into the actual product. This is Scribe Online. So what we have here is our cloud-configured, cloud-managed integration service that we have our ISV connections built on top of. And as promised, I'm going to highlight the Salesforce and ExactTarget integration that's been supplied. So the interface is very, very easy, very straightforward to walk through. And what we have is a preset number of integration points that we've provided. So we have contacts and leads into subscribers. We have list management, so I can segment my list within Salesforce and move those into ExactTarget. And we track metrics as well. So it's really a fully baked integration that I've been able to stand up in a very short period of time.
So if I'm an ISV, Brendan, this is something that I might do for my particular use cases, create this kind of sort of set of integration processes as a solution template. Is
Precisely.
that correct? Okay.
Yep. And within these, it's great because it is a solution template. So it's based out of what the core requirements are. So as a user, I might have additional requirements. So maybe for my leads, maybe I have some custom objects I want to work with, maybe I have some custom entities. So I have this nice graphical interface that I'm able to get into and take a look at what data is mapped between Salesforce and ExactTarget. So I'm able to really quickly see in my field mappings, I've got a series of fields that are already mapped. I've got first name, last name, city, state, pretty basic information. I could also take additional data that I have and map it across. So let's say, for example, I want the company information. So I can map company name across. I could even, as an SI, an integrator, I can come in and apply more logic to this. So the tool that we have is very simple to use, but it also has a lot of depth to it. So we can go very, very simple with just a quick set of custom mappings to some custom fields, really easy, a couple minutes, and you're out clean. Or I could go to the next level and apply a lot more data transformation logic, but again, it's done with the same high-level interface where we've got error management, warnings, we have the ability to debug during these mappings. So I can actually walk through this step by step, operation by operation, to ensure that I really have this fully baked, fully vetted before I turn it on in production.
But so Brendan, this map that you were in,
Yeah.
can you maybe go back to that real quick?
Sure.
That map is what it's doing is it's saying, hey, I'm going to take leads out of my Salesforce system, which is that connection up on the top right. I've connected to a particular instance of Salesforce, and I want to upsert, that is, update them if they exist, insert them if they don't exist, subscribers, which is what ExactTarget calls like a contact, and you can see that I've connected to my ExactTarget instance there, right? Is that?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and actually that's a good kind of segue into the next thing I wanted to show is that might be great for a lot of your customers, but as they grow up, they add other integration points. So once they get integration, it's the it's the gateway technology. They want more. They got to have it. So we're going to add a feed from GoToWebinar to supplement that subscriber data within ExactTarget. So to do that, I've already got my integration with Salesforce and ExactTarget. I can very simply add another integration point. And like Peter mentioned, I have connection options available to me through the platform. So this is anywhere from your base SQL Server, text files, your basic technology, all the way down to Marketos, ExactTargets, GoToWebinar, other ISV connectors that are within our platform. So as this list grows, your connection options, exponentially get bigger and bigger. So what I'm going to do is I have a pre-existing connection already out to a GoToWebinar endpoint, and what I want to do is I want to push that up into ExactTarget. So to build this, I'm going to first say this is going to be my my registrants, misspelled, but I'm going to let it go for now. And basically what I want to do is pull some data out of GoToWebinar. So the type of data I want is my registration data. I only want new registrants. I don't want to run data over and over and over again. So I'm going to pull out some set of data. For every registrant that I pull, I want to first do a lookup inside of ExactTarget. If that record doesn't exist, I want to go ahead and insert it. If it does exist, I want to update it. And then what I could also do is I could have some follow-up. So maybe because I brought them into ExactTarget, I want to feed them into a new webinar that I'm doing within GoToWebinar. And like you saw before, each one of these is just that really simple drag and drop. So I've got subscribers, and I've got basic field information. So I want to map first name to first name, last name to last name, email to email. Very easy for me to create these integration points between the systems and go forward with that. The other nice thing is that as I make these changes, you can see that the text will change. So upsert subscriber. I can make edits to any one of these and say I want for each registrant I get, do a lookup if not in ExactTarget. So I can add some documentation throughout so that once I'm done my job as a solution consultant, as I've done my job as my ISV technology partner, I can hand this off to a customer and they can actually have a shot of reading through this and seeing logically I'm pulling registrants. For each one I'm going to do a lookup. If it's not an ExactTarget, I'm going to upsert. Else I'm going to update that guy. And then I'm going to create some object within my source system. So it's really simple for me to create these integrations and have it just as another packaged part of what I'm offering. So I have that now at the very last map that I'm doing, and I can move these around. So I can really build this to be the logical flow that fits the business case I'm trying to solve, and just adding that into here, either ad hoc or as a template request. So those are the first two. The third one is doing the exact same thing, but this time with Dynamic CRM. So I've got a Salesforce ExactTarget implementation. Maybe I want to do something with CRM. So the first thing is that I realize I'm not a CRM consultant. I am a Salesforce consultant, and CRM is a little bit foreign to me. So what I can do is with our kind of multi-user, multi-tenant model, is I can pull in Peter, who is my CRM guy. So I'm going to invite Peter into my Templebrook construction organization, And that means he's going to be able to come in and collaborate with me, which is really important for that partner approach, because I may not be the domain expert for everything, but I am for a lot of things. I can pull in my team members to have them collaborate and work together. And what's going to happen now is Peter's going to log in and see Templebrook Construction in his list of available organizations. As I do, he might have others. So he can go from maybe he's working with me on the Manchester Co-op. And then he's going to come back and work with Templebrook Construction. So from my one interface, I've now enabled myself to have collaboration within my one account. Peter's going to give me a hand with this. And I have access to all my other customers. So I might be working on 5 or 10 different customers at one point in time, but I only have to worry about having one account into Scribe Online. So, as promised, let's go ahead and do this. So I'm going to say it's going to be CRM with ExactTarget. We have the ability to run this either fully in the cloud. So if it's CRM Online, I can pick a cloud agent which runs completely in Scribe's cloud, or if it's CRM on-premise or any other on-premise system, I could run it on a premise agent. It's about a 20 meg file behind the firewall, safe, secure, and small. And what I'm going to do then is import that template. So I'm going to go out, I've got ExactTarget CRM in my list. I may have 30 others, but basically what that's going to do is bring in that predefined template. And all I have to do now is go into these individual maps, make sure that they come back with no errors, and I get my little check mark saying that they've gone from incomplete to complete. So I can turn on any number of these different endpoints if I don't care about pulling tracking metrics back to Dynamics CRM. In this case, I really only want to pull contacts and leads and lists of those individuals, and I want to push them into ExactTarget. I just have to turn on these first 4 integration points. That's going to allow me to do all my list management, and then hit save. The rest of them are going to be arbitrary to me. I don't care about metrics, I don't care about any maintenance, I don't care about opt-outs. I just want those lists, those segments to go into ExactTarget, and now that's set to go. So as soon as I finish that, these integrations are ready to go. They can either run as they're set now on demand, where I log in and I hit a button and it will push data, or any one of these could run on a schedule. So they could be going through automatically behind the scenes, looking for new data, and processing it over to that target system from every hour, every day, all the way down to every single minute of every single day, of every single week, of month, of year. So I can have it be a near real-time integration by using this polling period. So that is...
Hey, Brandon, before you
Yep.
before you exit, maybe you could go back to Scribe Online. A quick question. So, or let me just make sure it's clear. So, one of the things I can do, if let's say I'm ExactTarget, I've got my connector. That's when you go in there. That's the thing that enables me to connect to an instance of ExactTarget and be able to pull all this nice metadata of my objects and my fields into this interface, so I can do data mappings and create these solutions. And then once I create the solution, then you're able to save it as a template, and then that template can be brought into any customer. Is that
Exactly.
Is that accurate?
Yeah. So your connection point is that connector, and it has just basically something to consume your APIs or your web services. So it's an ability to talk to that application. What you get with that is, like Peter said, you get your metadata. So I get what objects exist. So in this case, I mentioned contacts, leads. If I look at something like Dynamics CRM, what I see when I pull that connector back is everything. So every single object that exists within that endpoint, I can work with, I can do CRUD operations against. Other applications like ExactTarget have a much smaller set because it simply has a smaller use case that we're supporting for it. So every single connector doesn't have to have 50 or 60 objects with it. It could have as low as 1 to 3 that you're working with and still get a pretty robust integration out of. And then, like you said, Peter, when I finish this, I've got this whole template built. I can now take this template and export it, and now I've got it able to be saved for use in another customer. So I can navigate out to that Manchester Co-op and bring this in there. I could have a new customer come on board and bring it into what they're doing. So I've built my IP once, and I'm reusing it over and over and over again.
And one other question, you showed a drop down of available connectors that you had when you were creating a new one. Is that the full list, or are there others as well?
That's well, you can look at the marketplace. The marketplace has all of the connector ISV connectors that we offer. So from here, I can see if they're paid, if they're free, if they're locked, and which ones are there. So this is kind of a subset of the ISV provided connectors. It's also nice because it's not just a marketing page. From here, I can actually install or delete connectors from my organization. So if I don't want Financial Force anymore, I can simply remove it, and now it's no longer going to be listed in my available connectors. If I ever wanted to get it back, I could just reinstall it, and it will push it out to my my system. What you have for connections that you can work with is not just what's in the marketplace, but in this drop-down, we've got things like SQL Server, ODBC, text files. So even if it's a system that we don't support natively, let's take a Siebel. Siebel doesn't have a drop-down connector in this, but they have a series of interface tables that we can work with at a database layer. So we can work with that through our technology connectors. So even if we don't have a tried and true API connector with it, it means that we can still get to those good pieces of data by using our different technology connectors that we have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Brendan.
Welcome. So the last thing I want to show with this really is just, once you've got that integration's run, you can see status. So I've got how many records ran, how many records failed, how long did it take. I can see the individual errors. So I've got invalid email addresses. I've got emails that are going to trigger the spam filter. For any one of these, if it's a condition I can fix, I could actually reprocess data from the cloud. So I'd be able to select these individual records and reprocess them from this interface, or I can simply go back out and reprocess everything based on that button. So I have a lot of options, but basically that UI that we're dealing with here gives you all the feedback you're going to need about the integration. How it's been running, how it's been active. I could even see across all my customers what all their integrations look like. So really quickly I can see exactly what all my customer base is doing. I can navigate, I can assist, I can do a lot of work from here. So it's really built to be kind of the one point of contact you have to have with your customer integrations through this interface. So that's a bit of the demo. Again, there's a lot of underlying pieces that I'm kind of glazing over, but I want to kind of get the use cases across, at least for this point.
And I think one last point, one of the things that in our years and years of being in this business, one of the key failure points of integration is that point that the implementer, let's say the systems integrator or the ISV who's implementing, hands over day-to-day ownership of the integration to the customer, and they're overwhelmed with what they have to take on. One of the things we've tried to do is really make that transition easy. So it's easy to learn, easy to use, it's well documented, and the ISV or the systems integrator can still have an oversee role, but the day-to-day sort of monitoring and management can be done by customers. So I think that's another critical thing we see for success.
Absolutely. So what I'm going to do is switch gears just a little bit, and we're going to talk about how easy it is for you to get started in the ISV role. And really, there's three main points we want to make for this. The three easy steps are creating a connector, configuring that initial solution template, and deploying the integration. So we'll start with number one, creating a connector. Again, as we saw in the UI, the connector is just the mechanism by which you talk to your application. So from Marketo, it talks to their SOAP API. For GoToWebinar, it talks to the REST API. It depends on what you have to offer on what we're working with. Even something like On24 is simply an XML feed. So it's very, very, very varied with what you're able to do with it. But basically what we have in Scribe is a thing we call a Connector Developer Kit, or CDK. It's our own set of APIs that have been provided to be able to build these connectors on top of. So this is what we have for the ISV program in order for you to build on top of our platform. These are actually the same set of APIs that we use internally here. So it's well documented with a lot of sample projects, fully baked, REST projects, fully baked samples that just use ADO type technology. But we walk you through how to develop that, the two interfaces you care about, getting metadata back, and then executing operations. So we walk you through how to build that. And then we get down to your basic API documentation. So we go all the way through your generic samples, getting you a leg up with that, down to the nitty-gritty of which namespace and classes are you working with and what methods to call. Very well documented, always kind of a living document, so as we add more core capability, this document gets updated and changed in order to represent that. So if we add new capabilities that the connector needs to be changed to expose, you'll find that all listed in here. The samples will be updated. So it's really a good space to go and get that help. The other thing we have for connectors is we have a whole forum, we have a developer area that you can get assistance with. So we have a really well-provisioned, well-organized way within this program to get your work done, to get your connectors out in the market very, very quickly.
So this is a connector is pretty much code that's written between Scribe Online and the application to enable it to be used within the Scribe Online interface.
Yeah, exactly. So the connectors, generally not a huge investment of time. It's I'd say the average is 6 weeks or so to build a pretty robust connector within the platform. So it's not a 2-year process to do that. We try to make it very, very quick to be able to get out into that market and start making the connections. So the connector is kind of what you're going to have to build. The configuration of your initial solution templates are hand in hand with that connector. And what we do a lot within our ISV program is we help people define those use cases. So it's great to go fully jumping into the development cycles and start building code, but unless you have something you're trying to support, it's hard to build that properly. If you're building a be-all, end-all, every object, every operation, it's fine, but most people want to have more of a path they're following. So what we've done is we've actually created kind of a template that we use, and it starts off with defining use cases in plain language. So I want to take, this example is Dynamics CRM and Dynamics GP, an integration between the two, and it's taking that I want updated accounts to come from CRM to GP. So we can read through what happens when a user creates an account, what we want the actions to be. We then take something like this, which is a real easy to read use case, and we go to the next level of detail with solution data mapping. So these are logical mappings of data that we're going to be utilizing. So we go in from what object type is it going to be? Does it need to have a special filter? What are the APIs that are going to be involved? So we break it down from that high-level use case to much more of an object model in order to make this very easy to work off of. So I know exactly which objects I have to support in what fashion, and this can help make it from an end-all, be-all connector project to phase 1, phase 2. I want phase 1 to support my first 3 use cases. I want phase 2 to support the next 3, plus some extras that come up from customer interactions. So it's really a nice way to do it, but this allows you to define the connector plan and then creating the solution template. As you saw when I was doing the drag and drop with the GoToWebinar piece, it's simply taking these rules that you've now outlined, giving them to your consultant, and saying, have at it. And they can build that together with a visual interface, having a real solid checkpoint to go up against. It's not them kind of ad hoc creating these and kind of think through the scenarios. You've done all that upfront work here so that it makes it much easier to configure that initial solution template. So the first 2 steps are all done obviously ahead. They're pretty straightforward. The third one is deploying that integration solution. So now you've got a connector in market. You want to be able to onboard a new customer. They want this integration. What do you have to go through? So what I'll do is I'll actually go through it and just show you what happens with that. So within Scribe Online, I'm going to go ahead and create a new organization. So that's a new customer that's come on board. And this is going to be Peter's Chicken Shack. So Peter's a brand new customer of mine. He's looking to have a Marketo and Dynamics CRM integration. Let's use that as an example. So I've now got his organization set up. I'm going to go ahead and give him a quick free trial of integration services. So I have 2 weeks now of a free trial with this system. So I still at this point, even though I work for Scribe, I could do this as anybody out there in the world. Third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a cloud agent for Peter. Now what a cloud agent is an enablement for cloud-to-cloud integration. So maybe Peter's got CRM 2011 online and Marketo. So I'm able to go in, provision that cloud agent, takes about 30 seconds, and what that's going to do is give him the ability to run an integration in Scribe's cloud. So he doesn't have to have any sort of hardware that he has to worry about, no services behind his firewall. It's simply managed by Scribe. So he's now got his cloud agent available, and I'll just go ahead and create that integration. So this will be, in this case, I'll do Marketo, and we'll do it with CRM. So I'm obviously wanting to run in the cloud. I'll import that solution. So if I look out into my little ISV folder, I've got Marketo, CRM, import that template, and I've got the template imported. All I have to do now is connect this to his particular endpoints, and he's off to the races. So with that, it's about a 5-minute process, I'd say, all said and done. I'm skipping the connection to the endpoints, but really, all that is going into your connections, hitting new, and picking your particular endpoint that you want to talk to. So really, really, really simple. Again, about 5 minutes, all said and done. But with that, once those connections are in place, Peter now has an integration that has been tested by me. I have a template that I support. I know what the outcome is going to be. And in theory, I could hit run and have that start moving data within that 5-minute window. So we try to make it as easy as possible to really work with us, work with the Scribe platform, not have you calling up Scribe every third step along the journey in order to get us to enable, disable, turn things on, enable a new customer. We want as much of this to be able to be done by you, because once I'm finished with this, I can then again come in here and I can just write, Peter at shack.com to come in, and he's the new administrator for this particular organization. So now I've done everything I need to do. He's in charge of it. We can test it together, and he can take it over from here. So we, again, deploying those connectors, once they're available in our marketplace, once they're available for users that are out there, it really is as simple as going through that process, create an org, create an agent, import the solution, and invite your contact in, and you're good to go. So again, we say easy a lot in this, but it really is easy across the board.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Brendan. We're going to wrap up here. I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes on our program to make it easy for you as an ISV to go to market. It's pretty straightforward. We have 2 go-to-market options. Option B, I'll cover real quick. Option B are for those that want to co-sell. That is, they'll, an ISV will build their connector, maybe their solutions, but when they have a customer, they will, refer the customer to us, and we will license them the usage of Scribe Online to support that solution. And there's really, anybody can get in. There's no cost to it. All of the self-service resources are free. You can build a connector today or tomorrow. You'll get test accounts. You'll get all the things you needed to build a connector, build a solution, and engage with our team when you need to sell. And although we do have huge benefits for certification, because when you do get your connector certified, that connector now can be provisioned in our marketplace. So what's nice about our marketplace is it's not, as Brendan pointed out, it's not just a marketing thing. It's also something where any customer can just see it, say, I'd like that. They can either buy it, or if you provide it at no charge, which a lot of ISVs do for their products, they can just download it and start using it immediately. And that also allows them, when it's certified, not only to distribute that through our marketplace and through our cloud, but also to run inside our cloud agents. So any code that's going to run inside our cloud agents needs to be certified. And when you do that, you get a lot of benefits associated with certification. But again, it's a co-sell. Our pricing for Scribe Online is entirely based on how much data a customer runs through the product. So it's like a cell phone plan. For X dollars, you get so many rows of data in a time period, and then if you're going above that, you go up to the next price tier, and so on and so forth. And they're pretty broad swaths, so that customers could judge. Well, I'm probably, if you think of a cell phone plan, I probably talk on the phone 500 minutes a month, so that's the plan I'm going to take. It's very similar in terms of the customer's buying process. We don't charge for features. We don't charge for Scribe-provided connectors. It's all included. We just charge for the usage. and which also customers like because they only pay for what they use. They don't. There's no shelfware. There's no situations where they're just not using it and they're paying a lot of money for something they're not using at all. Option A is the option that many ISVs prefer because this allows them to be able to provide Scribe Online within their solutions. So it allows them to, the customer does not have to go to a Scribe to get the parts that they need. All of that is included with the ISV solution and connector. And we'll talk about the pricing for that in a minute, but it's usage-based as well. And that certainly comes with a lot more benefits, but probably the biggest benefit, again, is the ability to bundle Scribe Online within your solution and to be able to get pretty heavily discounted volume pricing because of that. So with that, we'll just a high lob on our usage-based pricing for the distribution pricing model for ISVs. It's really simple. It's only one metric that you need to keep track of, and that's rows processed. All of the capabilities, again, are included. We don't charge for features or connectors or things like that. But what we allow an ISV to be able to do is to pool all of the usage across the customers, so it's paying for actual usage. There's no shelfware here. And then the ISV is free to monetize that as they see fit. So it's sort of like you're paying for a platform as a service or something, like if you bought Amazon Web Services and you were delivering solutions on top of it. You're going to get a buy rate for the use of the compute power. We're giving you a buy rate for the use of the integration power, and then you're free to figure out how you want to monetize that or distribute that across your customers. So it gives maximum flexibility. It's very easy to manage. We provide monitoring. Each tenant has their own usage monitors, and we provide lots of data around usage. And as we're finding with a lot of ISVs, they really like this model because it really simplifies things for them. It does create a little bit of an opportunity, if you will, to have to crunch some numbers and figure out how best to align that with the pricing model of your application. What we're finding, though, is that this is a trend. We may be a little bit ahead of it where we've fully gone to usage-based pricing, but we're seeing this more and more with our ISV partners as they're heading in that direction, as opposed to the old traditional ways of seat counting and server sizes and things like that. And again, I think one of the key points here is that if it takes 6 months for a customer to deploy and get up and running, you only pay for actual usage. If you have a customer that does an initial data migration and they have a lot of data, yeah, you'll have a spike in cost at the beginning, but then the cost will drop. So you're not overpaying for usage because you had a data migration and that forced you to have to choose a level or a plan or some capabilities that you'd only needed once. So it really does, it's something that CFOs and financial people and product people need to model out, but it definitely is simple and straightforward in that respect. And then, not finally, but one other attribute I'll cover is that we do work with our ISV partners to create meaningful go-to-market programs and plans. This is actually an excerpt from a much longer checklist that we use for when we do engage with a partner and we are working with them. How do we get all of the pieces together, get the products up on the marketplace? How do we make sure we promote that application effectively to the market? And usually you're better able to do that. And then how do we work together to drive demand for the solution? We are a usage-based model, so we only make money when people are using your products and using it with our product. So we want to encourage usage. We have to prove ourselves every day that we're valuable and that we're doing what we need to do, and we'll get rewarded for that. So we want to work very closely with our ISV partners to drive demand. Integration product is only useful if you have more than one application and they need to share data. So the more endpoints and the more connectors we have, drives more demand, and we want to help you be successful there. So with that, we're pretty much wrapped up. Hopefully today we've shown you why integration is important. Probably a lot of you already know that, and why Scribe is a compelling approach to go, and really how our obsession over easy and making your life simpler and easier around integration, which can be a challenge for ISVs. How do you empower your ecosystem? How do you provide tools to the ecosystem, your customers and your partners, so they can self-serve themselves? How do you write one piece of code and leverage that across many different integrations and implementations? And how do you fit this from a pricing and economic standpoint into your sales model, and best fit that into the way you go to market? Those are the things hopefully we've been able to communicate today. So with that, before we actually finally wrap up, I'd like to first of all thank you, Brendan. I would like to thank you. If you are interested, we are offering a free API and integration readiness assessment. We find when we engage with ISVs that they're at many different varying degrees. Their APIs are at different levels in terms of readiness and capability, and so we spent a lot of time up front really providing some feedback on how ready that API is and that application is to be fully integrated with other applications and systems. So if you're interested, send an email to isv@scribesoft.com, and we will get you scheduled for a free API and integration readiness assessment. So again, thank you. And with that, Brendan and I will take any questions that we have.
All right, let's get in here. Okay, so we have a question on the multi-user collaboration side of things. Can you specify or limit which users can connect to a specific map? For instance, I only want my CRM expert to touch CRM maps and not QuickBooks. That today is not available, but I know from our product side that is something we kind of want to go further into this model of not just the collaboration but the security roles as well, so that I can define, much like I can in a lot of other applications, a specific security role where I might have invited in Peter as a CRM contact, and that gives him access to maps A, C, and F, but not B and E. So that is definitely something that's on our radar. Today, it's really kind of an on or off. If they're into that organization, they can get access to it. But again, hopefully that they're under that direction.
Just one sort of the workaround for that today would be you could create multiple organizations for each customer, so they have multiple tenants. And with the multi-user model, those tenants can be viewed from one dashboard, so that it's very simple to move from one to the other. So it's not inefficient at all. So that would certainly be the way to address that.
Yeah,
so
it's a great question though.
Another question that we have is that our development resources are strapped, which we hear. Right, and we hear this a lot. The ISV world is lots of success these days, and there's more things to do than we can get done. Is there a way that we can still get a connector developed? And the short answer is yes, absolutely. We actually have a handful, about a half dozen sort of go-to outsourced development partners who have built connectors for different partners and ISVs very successfully, and they're very good at bringing in a connector at a within a good cost and timeline. The key thing they do need though is they do need some help on the domain and support of your application. But as far as the development cycle, they can pretty much handle it end to end. One other question is, when you went through the provisioning part of things, is that something that as an ISV that I could do without having to use the interface? So if I wanted to embed your trial and a solution into my own trialing process. For example, could I do that? I think is what the question's asking, and as an example, and the short answer is today, no. But those are plans we do have in our roadmap. Don't have an exact timeline, but you should be looking forward in the coming months. So that is a critical capability and a feature that we're looking to add.
Yeah, it's a good question because it's been in our conversations with other ISVs. It's come up fairly often, so I'm sure it will. The more we hear it, the higher it goes on the priority list. So it's good to hear.
And one other question: can I get this state of customer data integration report? Feel free to send an email to the ISV at scribesoft.com, and we will and just request that, and we will send that on to you.
Well, it looks like that's it for now. If you have any questions, feel free to go ahead. That ISV at scribesoft.com. Any questions, please feel free to forward them through there. They'll find their way to the right bucket. If it's sales, probably go towards Peter. If it's more technical, end up in my camp. But as promised, it was about 50 minutes worth of your time. So thank you all for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time out and learning more about our ISV program. And hopefully we hear from you guys very soon.
Great. Thank you.